welcome. Trader Chat is back after 3 weeks of an inexplicable absence. Flynn Goward is back in the house. Flynn, let's just get this out of the way. Where have you been?
Well, I've not been having a baby, but my partner's been having the baby. Arthur Elliott Goward has been born. He's 3 weeks old yesterday. So literally she went into labour on the Saturday. I finished my 8-4 shift and we were straight to hospital. So she was actually in labour for most of my Saturday shift 3 weeks ago. Loving fatherhood, but I'm also loving to be back, Johnny. I'm probably going to be very rusty, so do forgive me in the comments if I'm a little bit rusty today, if I'm a point wrong or something like that. It is my first day back after 3 weeks and very little sleep as well, actually. So do forgive me, but I'm happy to be back here with the sunshine flowing through the window. And we're getting into the jump season now, Johnny, which, as you know, is my favourite time of year.
Indeed, and congratulations on Arthur Elliott. Sounds like a name that's going to just turn out to be something pretty big, I think, down the line. AEG, he's going to do great things.
Let's hope so. I'm thinking maybe Open Championship winner, a couple wins on the PGA Tour maybe would be nice. Or if he just becomes an on-course bookmaker, assuming that the on-course game is still thriving in 20 or so years, which I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, I went to Bellewstown actually for Frankie Detroit's visit last week. There's a documentary on Irish TV last night about Barney Curley that I think is going to be great fun, and it does document how the betting ring has changed. But here's hoping that it will be around for some time, and it's certainly around at the moment. Let's start off with today's promo, the Pie and Mash promo.
Yeah, so the Pie and Mash promo. So get a pie and mash for 4 people. From M. Manzi, I think is how you pronounce the restaurant name. When you sign up with promo code Pie and Mash and bet 50 quid or more, all T's and C's on the website. I'm sure that Ben's done a nice little video on Twitter if you did want to have a look at that as well. We've also got lots of other promos going this week. Going to have the 2 good promo for the footy this week, as we normally do for the decent leagues. We've got the Owners Club offer and the Lazy Lose guarantee on the show for the horse racing and for the dogs as well. So loads of offers. We've also got some American sports offers as well. They're all across the top of the website if you do have a look there. But the featured one this week is your Pie and Mash.
Okay, let's cut to the chase in. Another amazing food-related promotion from Ben. But let's cut to the race. And Newmarket and Cesarewitch, Native Trail did the job as was expected in the Dewhurst. And to me, now I'm looking from the outside in between the result of the Cesarewitch and the other kind of on the undercard. I imagine this was a tough enough day for the firm, but how did it go?
It certainly was. We were lucky in the fact that we didn't have a huge amount of the kind of big players coming in over the weekend. Might be the fact that it's getting towards the end of the kind of long flat season and keeping the powder dry until we get into the jump stuff, or even Champions Day, which we'll talk about coming up this weekend. So we were lucky in that sense, but of the money we did take, we did lose. As you just mentioned, Native Trail was an easy winner of the Dewhurst. He was impressive, but maybe not as impressive as people thought he'd be. Didn't really just stamp his authority, but then there are close comparisons with Pinatubo after winning the same race over in Ireland and then coming over and doing the same in the Dewhurst. So if you're going to be comparing to Pinatubo, it's going to be a tough comparison, especially at those stages of their careers. 11-4 from 4-1 for next year's 2,000 guineas. Like I just said, Native Trail was a poor result, the only loser in the book for us. So the first of many poor results at HQ. What did you think of his performance, Johnny? Do you think he'll go on to win the 2,000 next year, or do you think he'll just be maybe caught up by a couple as we get closer to May?
I didn't think there was anything wrong with the performance. You can grab obviously the rating of the horse in second, and I maybe Ger Lyon's horse came over Burn Straight Answer. He was a bit disappointing, but you know I think he probably backed up his run at the Curragh. There hasn't been a really outstanding Irish juvenile. The most obvious one was put in his place by him, obviously in the Curragh by Longsdale. So he does look the best 2-year-old at the moment, and it's a kind of a fill-up for his stallion Oasis Dream, who's kind of been in the doldrums actually for a bit of a while after being such a good stallion. But the best Irish horse to me is going to go for the Derby next season, and that's Luxembourg, who looks an absolute star. But in terms of the Irish sort of milers for next season, they've been fairly thin on the ground, and by far the best one he's already beaten, and now he's already beaten the best of the British comfortably, so he deserves to be Guinea's favourite. For all that, I don't know if I'd be bothered at 11-4 either. Okay,
well, while we're on the topic of the Derby, as you just mentioned, Luxembourg heads to market for the Derby next year at 7-1. Native Trail would be second in at 8-1. Point Lonsdale, as previously mentioned just by Johnny as well, 10-1. Then you'd be Reach for the Moon 12, the Queen's Horse, and then 14 to 1 Corebus. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that's probably quite a good point to come into, because he also won at the weekend, won the Autumn Stakes, the Group 3 race on the same card as Native Trail. Now 5 to 1 from 10 to 1 for the 2,000 guineas. So he would be second in. Godolphin dominating the bet in there. That was a small loser for us in the book. What did you think of his performance compared to Native Trail? Obviously, an easier task ahead of him, and he was ridden slightly differently to the last day when he was kind of nabbed on the line after going very short in running. But what did you think of his performance compared to Native Trail?
I actually didn't see it, so that's to answer that question. I had a mad busy day, and yeah, just got to see kind of the bigger races. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, well, I thought he was pretty impressive, but I thought Native Trail was the scopier of the two to take forward to next year. Anyway, the last one to pick out from Newmarket on Saturday was obviously the Cesarewitch. That went the way of Buzz. I'm sure everybody saw the connections of Buzz online, kind of going absolutely mental and just loving life. Very, very happy for them, and it was a small winner in the book for us.
Great day for Oisin Murphy.
Yeah. Funny old day for Oisin Murphy after the day before as well. I'm sure we'll get onto that in a second anyway. I did see a thing from Kevin Blake actually talking about the fact that over a certain period of time there had been a huge amount of breathalyzer tests, and I think only 16 had come back over the limit, and now 2 of them are him. So when you kind of take that sample, there's definitely something going on with Oisin Murphy. I'm sure there are rumours kind of behind the ranks about Oisin Murphy and all that type of stuff, but when you look at the bare facts, and if he has done it twice now, he's surely just got to change the way in which he does act away from the race course, because it's clearly impacting him on the race course, not performance wise, because he's still banging in the winners and he's still very short to go and win the Jockey Championship. There's some interesting questions as well from the racing TV guys when they were actually speaking to Oisin Murphy, and they were talking about whether the stress of the championship is kind of putting that extra pressure on him, and whether he's I think they're alluding to the fact that is he using these kind of different escapes away from the races to escape from that pressure, and he was very honest in his answer, and he probably just said yes. The kind of title battle was very, very intense, and that could be one of the reasons. So it'd be interesting to see next year whether he has a different approach and just goes to the big races. He also spoke about the fact that when he's getting the big winners, he really enjoys it, but then the run-of-the-mill stuff, he kind of doesn't really enjoy, really. I guess your Kemptons on a Wednesday, not to single out Kempton, but those type of meetings on a cold Wednesday night are slightly different to winning the Group 1s and the big handicaps in Newmarket on a Saturday. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
There is no doubt that the pressures are, and just the intensity of the program, how early you're up in the morning, often how late you get home in the evening. All that being said, though, I think you've hit a good point there. You know, this hasn't been a good 12 months for him off the race course, and he does need to, in order to kind of fulfill the potential of this career. And it's not like he's a young jockey, but he's not an old jockey, and in order to fulfill his immense potential, he probably does need to sort his life off the park, because he's not gonna get away with it forever. Put it that way.
Yeah, just really small changes as well. I mean, he didn't come to the race course absolutely trolley, did he? I mean, let's be honest. He was under the drink drive limit. He was over the riding limit. So he was obviously conscious the night before of not drinking too much, but he's gone over that line, and he was probably just playing a bit too careful with it. So
not like the old days, young Flynn, when jockeys regularly turned up, not only hung over from the night before, but still drunk.
It's a different world now, isn't it? It's a completely different world. But just going back to the Cesarewitch, a small winner in the book for us, finally, on the Saturday at the Newmarket card. Calling in the Wind and MC Muldoon were the ones that they came for in the market, but it was to no avail for them. Just moving back to Friday, whilst we're on the topic of Newmarket, Alsa Hale was a well-backed winner at 3 o'clock on the Friday, going in at 3 to 1. He led all the way and didn't see another rival. That was a poor result in the book for us, the only loser actually. It's not the best start to the weekend on the Friday. And then Inspiral is the one that we need to talk about in the Fillies Mile. I'm sure you watched this one, Johnny.
Yeah, it's a very, very good performance as well. There were some good performances, in fairness, in Newmarket. The Fillies Mile, she was good. I have to say, I thought Michael O'Callaghan's horse was good as well. Twilight Jet, who's off to the Breeders' Cup now. So you were hit by a lot of kind of favourites, and the Inspiral story is interesting. How good is she?
Yeah, well, very, very interesting indeed. Now 12 to 5 favourite. I mean, I might go back into the system and change that to 5 to 2 in a minute.
You don't like the 12 to 5?
Not particularly. I mean, when I actually go on course with Ben, who I think is actually going to make an appearance at Champions Day, but don't hold me to it just in case he doesn't come. But I think he's going to be on the track on Saturday. If I put up 17-2, I could just about get away with 15-2. But if there's only like 17-2 up on the board or anything like that, he'll turn around and he'll say, get rid of that. He just doesn't like it. So I can't imagine he'd be a massive fan of 12-5 either. But we are 12-5 at the minute. For Inspiral to win 1,000 guineas next year, and that was from 6-1. So,
well, what's her trip though? That's the thing. What is her trip like? Right, the Frankel influence and all that. She's already getting a mile well. So, what's her trip going to be?
I don't really know. You would have thought that she would probably get a little bit further, especially with the Frankel kind of stamp on the pedigree. And if she is getting a mile already, I mean, you want your horse for the Guineas next year to be kind of at a prime over 7 at the moment, don't you? And then progress up to the mile, because you think next year that there'll be those fillies that are currently running over 7 will step up to the mile and will improve for it. But then she could just be a cut above. So if you did want to take a short price now for 1,000 guineas, 12-5 there. I can also see if she's in the Oaks bet, and I would strongly imagine that she is without looking. Yeah, 11-2 favourite for the Oaks. Now you're 14 bar, so it's looking pretty uncompetitive at the moment, but this is early days.
She's a fairly sensational level of form at this stage. And again, considering there really aren't a load of exciting sort of 2-year-old prospects coming from Ireland necessarily. Obviously, Aidan's filly did as well. Tenebrism, but I don't know. We'll see with her. Yeah, she just looks pretty exciting. Over a mile or a mile and 2 next season, or a mile and a half.
Yeah. Well, I'd always be inclined to take these on at short prices when they're running next year. I mean, I know I've just advertised that with 12-5 or 5-2, but you have to be pretty confident about that type of horse or filly going into taking that type of short price for a race in next May or next June. So I don't want to be taking her on anyway, especially at this stage as a layer, until we know a bit more about the other contenders, because there will be ones that are shorten up. And I mean, should have to bunch into a really poor crop of her fillies next year to be too much shorter than what she is at the moment. Do you know what I mean? She'd have to be.
She did look fairly straightforward. She did look fairly straightforward, which is often my concern with Frankel horses, that they are just they're quite hot. And I know she kind of, maybe she wasn't the best just the way she travels in her races. She looks quite professional, and she kind of does look like she'd have the pace for a mile.
I thought she was, didn't she? I'm just acting off the top of my head here from when I watched it the other day. I thought that she got brought near side and she was kept away from it a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know whether that was conscious or not.
Well, it probably is like a lot of I don't know. I find with a lot of the Frankels, they are a little bit tricky, and she can be a bit keen as well. But you've just got that. It's that beautiful thing to look forward to, because if she does progress into a proper miler at 3, which is the pace that she has, she could be extremely good.
Yeah, so one to watch for next year, and a decent bunch of kind of Group 1s over the weekend. But what I do want to talk about, because as we know, I am a jumps man. I love to jump.
Chepstow.
And it was Chepstow. You've got to love a bit of Chepstow, Johnny.
You have indeed. I have been there, actually. Yeah, went there to watch a horse I was involved in flopping the Welsh National all those years ago. So there you go.
What horse was that, Johnny?
It was Operation Houdini. He was only sent off around 8-1 on the day. I remember I was actually interviewed by Robert from at the races before the race at the time, because the race meeting had all but been called off because it was very frosty. But he'd come there with really solid form, but he just didn't perform anyway. He was probably a bit outclassed on the day, but yeah, it was good fun. Makes you think of the winter now and the hot whiskies and all that. Leopardstown at Christmas, Chepstow for the Welsh National, Kempton and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and at Cheltenham, more importantly. I mean, I'll be at Cheltenham in a couple of weeks. Can't wait to get back there. I'm hoping to maybe get over for the Dublin Racing Festival next year as well, with a couple of the kind of star boys from back here. So that would be a good time if we could get over there. But just moving back to Chepstow, I guess the performance we need to talk about is Brave Man's Game. Made a winning start over fences. Jumped really impressively. Yeah, jumped really impressively, albeit getting away from the big breakaway. You'd think that Brave Man's Game will be aimed at all the kind of top novice races this year, whereas the big breakaway, I would imagine, will probably go for a tilt in the Ladbrokes Trophy. We've not got the Ladbrokes Trophy priced up yet. It's a little bit too far out for the back end of next month. But I would imagine the big breakaway will go there. The Cesars do like the race, and it would surprise me if he was one of the bigger protagonists when we do actually get to the Ladbrokes Trophy. So he's probably one to keep an eye on when prices do come out. He's quite a big sort, isn't he?
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have Paul Nicholls with a proper horse game? But you're thinking, I was just looking at this at the weekend after he won. He was 12 lengths behind Bob Ollinger. Like, so how good is Bob Ollinger going to be when he beat him at Cheltenham?
Yeah, maybe. But then when you look back to kind of Denman over hurdles, which is a completely different horses to when he went over fences, and he's got that similar build. I'm not saying he's Denman, but he
He's
does have that
fantastic at
very
his
similar
fences.
build.
You can basically put this horse out in front. He will jump horse into submission and just gallop. And I think even from an Irish perspective, we really want Henderson and Nicholls and these trainers to have proper horses, because what happened in March is not sustainable going forward for either jurisdiction.
Yeah, how do you feel about that as an Irishman, Johnny? Do you look at it like, yes, we've completely drubbed them, or are you a bit disappointed with the fact that it's so uncompetitive?
No. So, like, obviously, because Ireland tended not to win the Prestry Cup, and in general tended to not even have a chance in it. But like, so I suppose when I got into racing in the early noughties, it was it was great to have a big Irish winner, the likes of Moscow Flyer and all that. But it was fairly lean, and we really celebrated that. But you respected the fact that Nicholls and Henderson were dominant. But I do worry for the future of British racing, and I really worry after Cheltenham in March, because Irish racing is very reliant on British racing for that rivalry, for the sales, for jockeys, for the two industries are very intertwined. And if the prize money situation doesn't include in Britain, when we already have an animal rights lobby that is quite loud, and a lot of people are moving away from horse racing, and some people are moving away from gambling as well, in terms of the narrative, there are lots of things to be worried about. So I think we need jumps racing to be good for Irish racing, and we also really like the competition. We love the competition of going over there. And no, I don't think nobody was celebrating in Ireland the 23-5 or whatever it was this year, because it was alarming.
Yeah, well, it was interesting that when we actually put up the handicap, so we do the Prestry Cup handicap each year. I'm just trying to think of, I know when we were on the kind of Zoom calls and stuff, we were debating the line being around the 6 mark. I think we actually might have gone with 6, and we included the draw. But a lot of the kind of shrewies that we seem to be shrewd were coming on and betting GB +6. So I think you went the other way, Johnny. And
I did. I think it was the last winner I had, actually.
Yeah, not saying that you're not shrewd, obviously, but the kind of
well, the odds had changed markedly. It was probably one of the best bets I ever had, because the line had changed and it had actually swung the other way. And I mean, the bet was nearly up after one day, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we do see some of these GB horses coming out and doing the business this year, and it will just make it a little bit more interesting when we come to March. What I just don't want to do is get to March and it can just be a bit samey, can't it? And I don't want to make this so pro GB for me, but just when you see just like I think Mount Ida was the one that really kind of just capped it for me last year. You're just thinking it's all out the back of the TV, massive in money.
Jumping right.
How well in was that horse to win that race? It's just unbelievable. So something has to be done. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm purely just speaking as a speculative point of view. But just back to Chepstow again. Philip Hobbs had a great start to the season, plenty of winners at Chepstow. Cam Prond took the Persian War. That was a decent result for us. The other Hobbs runner, Luttrell Ladd, was the one they came for in the market, but to no avail. So good start to the season for Philip Hobbs. Hopefully he has a good season, as well as Nicholls and Henderson and all them lot. And I'm really looking forward to a bit of jumps this season. Like we just said, we do have Champions Day this Saturday, where we will be running our pipped offer. You'll be able to find all the T's and C's on the website for that. Just to show our betting for a couple of the races. So the long distance cup, we are 6-4 Trushan, 7-2 Stradivarius, who's actually been left in Stradivarius. So he may be running it. It could be a farewell for Stradivarius. You never know. Come Saturday, and then we're 5-1 bar there. The British Champion Sprint Stakes, that changed complexion slightly because Starman has been sent to stud, hasn't he, after an injury. So he's not going to be running. Dragon Symbol favourite there at 7-2. Rohan 4-1 second in, 9-2 Art Power, and then 11-2 Bar. And then let's just touch on the Champion Stakes. Mishriff is your 13-8 favourite there. A Dayar 2-1, a Dayeb 6-1, and then we are 9-1 Bar. So we have got the betting for 5 of the races. The Balmoral will be up. We've only had decks through about an hour or so ago. So just waiting to get all of those kind of priced and ready. We've also got loads of other anti-post races to get stuck into. Now we are talking about March. Most of the March markets are up there for Cheltenham, so do have a look at that. But we've also got Breeders' Cup if you wanted to have a look at next month. So the kind of jump stuff and the kind of That jump speed is going to start hitting now, so I can't wait to be talking about it each week and seeing where the horse is going to run. I much prefer it to the flat. I'm not going to lie, Johnny.
Yeah, and you've been consistent in that view for a long time. Before we finish up, NFL, Formula One, and politics, we obviously had the NFL moving to London. My beloved Jets now 1-5 after, I say beloved, I'm kind of a casual follower, but they're beaten 1-5. They're now 1-5. They're beaten in what was a historic game for the quarterback, the Falcons. Obviously, did many people get involved in a punt on us from the British perspective?
I can just have a look. I mean, I'll be honest. I've just got the market movers from the NFL. We do have some more offers when it does come to the NFL. That's a time and a half offer. If your selection has been in overtime, then we'll refund 50% of your stake as a free bet. So that's something to kind of get stuck into there if you are looking at NFL. We did see a fair bit of interest. Just having a look at the bet numbers here is actually quite decent for the weekend just gone. We have loads of different specials priced up, which our kind of NFL team do look after. The market movers from the weekend in terms of the Super Bowl were the Buffalo Bills, actually, into 11-2 from 8-1. I did ask the NFL trader for market movers this morning, and that was the only one that he sent me. But he is a big Buffalo Bills fan. He always comes in his big bubble hat. So that may be the reason that he sent me that one. Cleveland Browns are the bogey for us. We lay heavily at 16-1 last month and now 14-1, so only clips in a couple of points. The Cleveland Browns would be the ones that we want to get beat thus far, although I would imagine that'll be a changing picture in the NFL over the coming season. Talking Formula One, Verstappen's into 4-7 from 4-6 after a second place at the Turkish Grand Prix. Hamilton's out to 5-4 from 11-10. He finished fifth. There was a bit of a mix-up between Hamilton and the team in terms of when he should come in and stuff for his last pit stop. He was going to stay out, and then he decided to pit a little bit later than ideally. So the tyres weren't perfect for him when he came back out, and he was kind of lumbered in fifth place rather than being in third. So a bit of a mishap for them there, although Hamilton did start 11 on the grid, so he did make up 6 places into fifth. All roads lead to the US Grand Prix now. Very, very tight, and it's been really good watching, actually, the Grand Prix and the Formula One this year. So we do have constructors betting and the actual championship betting on site for Formula One. And then just lastly on politics, a few moves for the general election
William
market.
Kajani will be absolutely delighted that you're stealing his thunder here. It would be politics every day if he could have it.
Yeah, I know. We're certainly not going to be doing that either. Leave that for the polling station and you guys to talk that one over. But just in terms of a couple of market moves, Conservative majority drifted to 5-4 from evens, and Labour majority is shortened into 5-1 from 6-1. And then in terms of most seats, Conservatives are 2-1 from 4-9, and Labour 7-4 from 15-8. So Labour have come in, and the Tories have gone out marginally. So just a couple of market moves there in terms of politics, Formula One, and NFL. And then there was lots of racing chat as well, and loads to look forward to in the weeks coming up, Johnny.
Beautiful, great to have you back, Flynn.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we'll be back to discuss Champions Day next Monday and talk to you through the week that is to come as well. And it should be a very illuminating week on the racing front in Britain, and we shall chat to you then.